What's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. So, guys, there still hasn't been a ton of Bulls news recently. For the most part, things have been staying pretty quiet, which to an extent is expected. The Bulls really didn't have much cap space going into free agency, and I do still believe it makes the most sense to treat this season as somewhat of a survey of the landscape, if you will, to see who fits on this roster under Billy Donovan, see if anybody takes a big leap in their development, or perhaps if anyone takes a step back. And then once there is, significantly more cap space at the end of the season, that's when really you make more meaningful changes with the stacked free agency draft class that we have in the summer of 2021. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, reviewing some of the options for the Bulls in next year's free agency. What are some of the realistic options, and some that are maybe a bit more on the wishful thinking side. Now, with reviewing something like this, you also have to go into it with a number of assumptions on the 2020-21 season and how things are going to pan out. So for the purposes of looking at the Bulls' free agency options in 2021, we're going to assume that the Bulls have a better than expected season. They're going to make the playoffs as the 8th seed, probably lose in, say, 5 games in the first round. This also assumes that it was apparent there was a significant shift in the chemistry of the team, the culture from top to bottom. And we're also going to assume that most of the young players showed significant improvement from the prior season. And that includes the new rookie Patrick Williams having a stellar season in which he makes first team all rookie, not rookie of the year, but shows that he was worth the top 4 pick and was a standout among the rookie class. Okay, so with all of these assumptions in mind, let's review the players on the current roster who would still be under contract going into the 2021-22 season, really to just assess the cap space and how much we would actually have. So Zach LaVine would be going into the final year of his deal worth $19.5 million. Thaddeus Young and Tomas Satoransky would be the final years of their deal as well at $14.1 million and $10 million respectively. Both of those contracts are not fully guaranteed, so that does give the front office some flexibility if they wanted to waive either one of them. Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., Ryan Arcidiacono, and Chandler Hutchinson would all have team options for their contracts, which gives the Bulls even more flexibility. And then you also have Daniel Gafford, who would be under contract for $1.7 million, but like Thaddeus Young and Satoransky, it's not fully guaranteed. So this actually provides the Bulls with a ton of salary cap flexibility. The only 2 players that would be under a guaranteed contract without a team option would be Zach LaVine on an expiring deal and Patrick Williams on his rookie scale contract. Otto Porter would be off the books, Felicio's contract would be off the books, Markkanen would be up for an extension, Valentine, Garrett Temple, Noah Vonleh, Luke Cornett, they're all on 1-year deals going into this season. So the front office has really positioned itself well to have a lot of flexibility going into 2021. Okay, now for the free agents who would be available next summer, or I guess I should say the fall, since the season won't technically end until late July this year with everything getting pushed back. So I don't know how it's all going to pan out, but my guess is that it'll probably be a early fall free agent. But as for the free agents, at least the top ones anyway, you have Giannis, unless he of course signs the Supermax extension, which is possible. I think that actually is going to be the most likely, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. You have LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Rudy Gobert, Victor Oladipo, Drew Holiday, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Paul, and Blake Griffin. These are just to name a few, but as you can see, there are a lot of options. Some of these bigger name than others, but for the most part, there's a lot of people that are going to be free agents going into next summer. Now, the one name I didn't mention was Anthony Davis, and that's because he's actually a free agent this year. He technically won't be a free agent next year. And I know a lot of Bulls are hoping that there is a small sliver of hope that AD will sign with the Bulls for this upcoming season, but as I've said in my past videos, this just isn't going to happen. There's no way he turns down signing a max contract with a team he just won a title with, playing with the best player in the league in LeBron James. to then take all that away and come play for a rebuilding team. It's just not going to happen. However, I also mentioned in past videos that I do think it's likely Anthony Davis only signs a 2-year deal with a player option for the second year to give him flexibility on negotiating a better contract, or say leaving for another team should LeBron decide he's bouncing from the Lakers as well in 2021. So guys, if the Bulls do in fact make it to the playoffs and show that they're an up-and-coming team, like I mentioned the assumptions, similar to how the Bulls were starting to show their potential in 2010, when Derrick Rose was kind of starting to become a standout and showing that he was playing at an MVP type level, I honestly don't think it's far off to say that Anthony Davis could join the Bulls in 2021. Again, that's if he signs a 1-and-1 deal, and also if LeBron leaves the Lakers as well, because I don't think Anthony Davis leaves if LeBron signs another extension with the Lakers. So really both of those scenarios would have to happen, and those are kind of unlikely. But I do think that if those pieces fell into place, there is a potential there, and I don't think it's something to really look away from. Now, the other good thing about the Bulls' flexible cap space is that they would actually have the ability to sign another max player, more than just one if it was Anthony Davis in this example. So let's say AD sees a lot of potential in the Bulls and decides he wants to come home and try winning a championship with his hometown team. He may try and recruit another big name to be his right-hand man. Now, first, how amazing would it also be to get LeBron on the Bulls if they collaborated together and say, hey, let's go to Chicago and try to, bring this town back to the glory days back when Michael Jordan was running things. But, I don't want to get too carried away. I feel like we're already getting pretty carried away enough as it is, and just looking at some of these assumptions. Besides, LeBron will be 36 by then, and I've got to think he's going to start slowing down sometime, although I thought that 3 years ago, and he still continues to dominate today. But what about, dare I say it, Kawhi Leonard? Imagine a combination of Anthony Davis and Kawhi on defense to go with Zach LaVine and an up-and-coming rookie and Patrick Williams, and other young stars as well. We still have Kobe White, Wendell Carter Jr., as long as the Bulls are keeping all of these guys. That's actually a very, very solid team. Now, guys, I'm not one to be considered a delusional Bulls fan. I know that that's what this sounds like right now. I'm usually much more realistic and, to be honest, a bit more critical of my team, which I know, again, this doesn't really seem like it based on this video and my last video as well, where I made some bold predictions on the Bulls. I know that more than likely the Bulls are going to take a few years before truly building a contending team, and that these free agent scenarios are still unlikely. I guess because it somehow feels like it's a new day for the Bulls franchise after being managed by Gar Pax for so long, that I'm finally feeling a bit more optimistic. Now, really quickly, the other thing I do want to add is in regards to Giannis's potential free agency. Some Bulls fans are actually under the impression that they have a chance at landing Giannis in 2021, and all I'll say is yes, us and 29 other teams are hoping